Good afternoon and welcome to another episode of Unscripted and Unchained RPG Review. I am DM Bloodworth, and as you can see by the graphics, today's video is a return to the AD&D First Edition module series, where I take a spoiler-free look at some of the most well-known, popular, or requested adventures going back to the first edition of Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. This is actually by request, so I'm taking a look at Q1, Queen of the Demon Web Pits, and this is an adventure that I actually played as as a player. My player character had run through this, and we ran through it as the end of the Giants series and the Drow series. So this was the last of the adventure modules in that series that we had played, and I'll talk a little bit about that as well, to the best of my recollection, because I am going back to the early 1980s in memory of when we did run these. So without further ado, I'm going to jump right into the PDF and take a look at that. I'm also doing this video a little bit differently. I'm not wearing my headset, you notice, and I'll see how the sound quality is without the mic right next to my face. Hopefully it's a little bit better sound quality along the way. I also apologize for the image of the module on the front cover here, and it'll be part of the thumbnail as well. I literally could not find a better image than this unless I was going to go to the Wizards of the Coast reprint, and I'm just not going to advertise their reprinting of the module. I want to focus on the way that they originally were, and so without further ado, let's go over to the PDF. So this was a very famous adventure module from first edition. It was written by David Sutherland III and Gary Gygax. From what I understand, and reading the forward of this adventure, Gary basically did the outline of it, and then David Sutherland picked up where he kind of left off because he was working on several other projects at the time, and I highlighted a little bit of that in the printing here, but I didn't focus too much on it. Now again, this is going to be spoiler free, although there were certain things that everyone kind of knows ahead of time, so I'm not going to hide the fact that the main opponent in this is the Demon Queen Lolth, and we'll get into that as well. So here is probably one of the most confusing maps ever in Advanced Dungeons and Dragons First Edition. This was a real challenge to deal with as players, and certainly as a DM as well. Just very, very struggle to figure out where was what and everything. So it was a difficult map to deal with, the Demon Web. So here we go with the front cover, and very well-known image. So this module is exciting conclusion of a series of 7 AD&D modules. It may be played on its own or as a climax of the Giant series, and they labeled them Q1, 2, and 3, which were later labeled G1, 2, and 3, and the Drow series, which is D1 and 2 and 3. All right, so the persistent adventurers must now face the Demon Queen herself and on her own plane. All right, and that's going to be very important because I believe this is the very first module, and I probably highlighted it as well. This is the very first adventure module produced by TSR, and as you can see, it's 1980, where the player characters are not adventuring on the prime material plane, and so all of the rules that they had, um, such as like what's detailed in the manual of the planes, all of the rules that they had for adventuring off prime material plane are going to come into play here, and it's very, very important for you to focus on those. So I will go into the preface and let me expand this view a little bit. As this is the last of a series of 7 modules, 6 of which were authored by me, that's you might will be wondering why this one is done by David Sutherland. All right, so he goes right into it and he explains that, and it's not really that important other than the fact that David Sutherland did an awesome job in tying up that series of adventures. We go down, so the Demon Web is remarkably innovative and imaginative. Take a look now and see if you don't agree that it is special indeed. Guaranteed to give your players unsurpassed challenge. The module is truly for the expert player and ability, not character level. Will be the telling factor and enjoy. All right, so and when we had run this in my group, all of our characters were at the upper levels of this level band for this particular adventure, and we had been playing our characters, for quite some time. And when I talk about, it's not the number of years that we were playing our characters, because we did bring our main characters through this. It was that the fact that we played almost every day. All right, as teenagers, we were playing D&D 6 days a week. All right, easily 6 days a week. Even during school and everything, every day after school, we'd come home and we'd log in 2 or 3 hours of gameplay until it was dinner time, and then we would either go home or have dinner there, and it was just never ending, slogging away at these adventures and playing our characters and everything. So our characters were really quite experienced, even by, we didn't play this in 1980, we probably played this in like 81 or 82, but we had already been playing Advanced Dungeons and Dragons for probably close to 3 years by the time our characters came to these adventures. So the background. How different things seem now from when you undertook the crushing of a few rebellious hill giants. What seemed a simple adventure has turned into a major expedition. Much time has passed since you discovered the conspiracy that led you to the home of frost giants and the stronghold of the fire giants. Okay, information pointed to the involvement of a long-forgotten drow. Traveling through tunnels guided by the map hastily behind, you encountered minor outposts of these evil elves, and that outposts of mind flayers and were-rats in your descent into the depths of the earth in Dungeon Module D1 and 2. Other races inhabited these tunnels, but they were of little help, being mostly trolls, troglodytes, and unknown fishmen guarding the shrines of the Kotoa. At last it seemed the final goal had been reached, the Vault of the Drow, Dungeon Module D3, which I will, of course, talk about the Drow series a little bit later on in this series of videos. Now it is time to crush the greatest enemy, Lolth, the queen of the demon web pits. Caution. This module is as with all others of this series, has been designed to use by experienced players with high-level characters. It demands a great degree of ability from both the DM and the players. Inexperienced players allowed to play with high-level characters cannot be expected to do well. The composition of the party must be well balanced with respect to magic users and fighters, and at least one thief and 2 clerics should be along. The average level of the character should be about 12th level, and each character should have magic items appropriate to leveling of experience. At least 1+3 weapons should be possessed by the party, along with several potions of healing and extra healing. While in the web, characters should be allowed to rest and sleep in any room cleared of monsters. Wandering monsters should be checked for each hour. After the rest, magic users with their spell books may regain spells, and clerics may pray for 1st and 2nd level spells. High level spells may not be recovered by clerics in the web, although they may be regained normally or any other alternate worlds. See Web Level 4. Once in the web, there is no manner of retreating, for the characters are on another plane. Therefore, the party must be strong enough to face the dangers they will encounter. 8 characters should be considered the minimum number, and 10 is usually not excessive. So you had to play with a lot of characters in this, and even our group, which was small, it was only 5 players. So 1 DM and 4 players. We had additional characters for this adventure. So we had our mains and then a secondary. This module will place great demands on your ability as Dungeon Master to run combat and spell casting. It is very important that the monsters herein be played to the best ability for the module to be a challenge for those players. Okay, and we go here. So play commences in a temple known as the Great Fane of Lolth. All right, and that is mapped out on in Module D3, the Vault of the Drow. The play begins with the Council of Nobles, those good rulers who started this series of adventures by enlisting the aid of the adventurers in fighting the raiding giants, and so on. They go through a little bit more and more. There is the egg, and there's, I'm not going to read too much of this. But after much private discussion, the council has contacted the players, offering 3 different opinions concerning the egg. The egg was a device. It was a 5-inch long, 3-inch wide, almost like an ostrich egg of I forget the pure, like it was a material, almost like a metallic material, if I remember correctly, and no one knew what the actual function of the egg was. The majority believed it to be cursed, left by Lolth to wreak havoc upon her attackers. Some of the older and perhaps wiser members believed it to be both the key and a trick to lead and lure intruders somewhere so that Lolth may destroy them. The small majority think that the egg is a gift from rival gods and reward the destruction of Lolth's plans on this world. All agree that extreme care should be taken in dealing with the egg. They also advised the party to investigate the egg further, possibly casting 1 or more of the following spells on it. All right. We get here for all of the impact of playing on within the abyss. All right, so Lolth's Web is in the abyss. It is an environment quite unlike the prime material, where most AD&D campaigns are run, and it has multiple alterations to clerical spells, druidic spells, magic user spells. Magic items are altered. Illusionist spells, I should have mentioned first. Magic items are altered as well. They go through the details of the web, and then we get into the actual breakdown of the adventure, which I am going to skip over because I don't want to reveal any tips or hints or spoil anything for you. Number in the party? No, that's something different. We'll take a look at some of the artwork here. I'm sorry you saw a dragon. And so, um, here are some of the new creatures. That's not a problem to show off. So you have Driders that are introduced in this adventure, and you would later see them, I believe, in Monster Manual 2, or possibly the Fiend Folio. You have some more insects. The Handmaidens of Lolth. Lolth herself. So again, I mean, it's not a surprise that this is the main opponent in the game, and they even bring up the point here that you'll notice 66 hit points doesn't seem like a lot, but she could heal herself at will 3 times per day. She had many many godlike abilities or near godlike abilities, and even though she's a demon queen here and kind of structured as a demon in later iterations of this of Lolth, she will actually be converted into a demigod, I believe. Yeah, a demigod. I'm fairly certain a demigod is what she is later on labeled as, rather than just an archfiend or like a demon lord. She has a number of spell abilities and such, and just very challenging. So that 66 hit points is very deceptive. Yeah, it says, though characteristics, strength, and intelligence of Lolth, which are exceeded 18, are explained below. A full explanation of divine characteristics are in the deities and demigods. All right, so they go into detail where she has some abilities that exceed, or attributes that exceed, that of the player's handbook and or DM's guide. And here's the other half of that map. And then here you have, so here you have it as like a standalone here, but you have the dungeon module G1, 2, and 3 against the giants, dungeon module D1 and 2, Descent into the Depths of the Earth, D3 is the Vault of the Drow, and then Q1 is the Queen of the Demon Web Pits. And so there we have the full module there, and like I said, I didn't want to tip off too many things and then spoiling it, but a very, very challenging adventure. Now, when I remember back to this adventure, going through it, I went through it with my main character, and our party basically got to the end of this, but we did not end up killing Lolth. But there was a different story behind it. Our particular group, we were in a campaign that our DM Adam was running, and there was a lot more intrigue going on in it, where there were competing demon lords. And we were kind of in the service of a quasi deity. that that we had kind of stumbled upon during our adventures, and he was not a nice guy. All we knew him by was the name of Esteban, which was kind of a weird pick. So we had and he was in the service of the demon lord Pazuzu, and somehow there was this kind of a political intrigue that was going on, both on the Abyss and in the prime material plane, where Pazuzu and Lolth were competing with one another over an objective, and our characters got involved through that quasi deity, and he was kind of working, like, utilizing us in order to thwart her plans. And so when it came down to that last battle, we didn't have to defeat her. We just had to subdue her, and then that's when the quasi deity kind of stepped in and got Loth to concede to the plans of what Pazuzu was doing. So it was really a lot of DM inserting his own campaign ideas into this module, and it really changed the outcome of the module based on what might have been. In some cases, it made it safer for us. I'm guessing, because we didn't have to all out try to defeat her. Although, like I said, we were very experienced players, and with our main characters, we hadn't lost our main characters for many, not during any of these series of adventures. So, we went through the Giant series, we went through the Vault of the Drow without losing any of our main characters. We might have lost some secondaries, because sometimes we had to include a backup character to run along, just to match up, because we were such a small group. But our main characters all survived this, and so it was one of those adventures that I was glad to be able to say we ran it, we went through it, we survived it. Wasn't quite like Tomb of Horrors, where we ran away, rather than continue trying to go through it. But it was one in which we had a very unique success condition built into it, and that's what we utilized for it. So, and I think that's important for you to think of if you're a DM out there, and you're utilizing adventures that are produced adventures by, whether it's TSR or Wizards of the Coast, is that once you have the adventure in your hands, it's you're the DM. You get to do whatever you want with it. You can alter it in any particular way, making it more dangerous, less dangerous, or just changing various outcomes of it. And that's something that's really important for Dungeons and Dragons in general, and actually playing Dungeons and Dragons, is that the DM needs to be a true master of the game world that they're running, and not be afraid to alter whatever is in their hands, whether it's the rule books or the module in their hands, in order to make it fit their campaign or their vision of how they want to play the game. So once again, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing. If you have any suggestions of modules you'd like for me to take a look at during the first edition series of modules, please leave that in the comment section. And as I said, and as this is an example of, I will respond by doing a video on that adventure. Hopefully, I can find better graphics than the one I found for this here, but it'll serve its purpose. And once again, enjoy your weekend. I look forward to seeing you on the gaming screen sometime soon, and you have a great rest of the day. Take care.